What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be reacting to NASCAR's Ultimate Underdog. Now, I feel like this video was requested a long time ago, but I did mention in like a previous video that I'm trying to get through like the backlog of requests that I've received. So I literally have like a YouTube page up that's got like 100+ tabs on it. I'm literally staring at it right now. That's stressing me out, but it's fine. I am slowly working my way through these requests, and this one was obviously requested months ago. But I don't know what it's going to entail, who it's going to be about. I'm excited to get into it, so I'm just going to shut up and we'll get straight into it.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today, let's talk about another one of my favorite race car drivers of all time, Alan Kulwicki. Throughout his career, Alan was a total oddball in NASCAR.
Who is that? I don't know.
He had a steady girl, which is pretty cool because he got to do photo shoots like this one. And in a sport born and anchored in the blue-collar Southeast, Alan was a college graduate in mechanical engineering from Wisconsin. He was often mockingly called Special K or the Polish Prince for his high-strung attitude, but he had the respect of everyone in the garage because despite his minuscule budget, the man could put together a race car and go fast, no doubt about it. And in 1992, he pulled off the biggest come-from-behind underdog upset victory in NASCAR history. Alan isn't just one of my favorite drivers of all time, he's also one of my favorite team owners too. That's right,
he was a team owner
for the majority of his career. This was a bit of a rarity in NASCAR, not just at the time, but for the majority of the modern era since 1972. It was typical that a young guy would come in, race some bottom-tier cars for different car owners before he would be picked up by a top-tier team later in his career.
He looks really like someone I've seen before, and I can't put the name to it.
Won a bunch of races and maybe even a championship.
That's kind of annoying me now.
Clout and notoriety to gather his own sponsors and investors who could help him field his own team. But this was not the route Alan decided to go. He was a perfectionist and everything had to be done his way. In 1986, he raced for Bill Terry, racing the number 35 Quincy Steakhouse Ford, until Terry decided to back out of the season about halfway through. 31-year-old Alan, perhaps seeing an opportunity, decides to just buy out the team outright and run it as a one-man operation.
He just bought the team
some
like that.
And eventually some full-time guys, almost all of which come from teams that they themselves had owned at one point or another. Alan had hoped, since they had the same mentality of doing things for themselves, they would see his way of doing things and embrace his perfectionist attitude. Some did, some didn't. Ray Evernham was one of those guys who didn't. Future crew chief for the multi-time champion Jeff Gordon would work for Alan for just 6 weeks before quitting. He once stated that Alan was a genius, there was no doubt about it, but he paid for it with his personality. He was impatient, and he would ride you for everything. And according to Alan Kulwicki's crew chief, Paul Andrews, one guy lasted just 2 hours. He was hired at 10 a.m. on a Monday, went out for lunch at 12, and never came back. Despite all this, Alan ends the 1986 season with just 2 full-time crew members, 1 car, 2 engines, and the Rookie of the Year award. He finished the season 21st in points out of 120-plus drivers who made starts that year, despite only running 23 out of 29 races. He has only one finish outside the top 30, and an average finish of 15.4, with 4 top 10 finishes. Alan suddenly gains the attention of everybody in the garage. Going into the 1987 season, he changes his number to 7, gets Zurich's antifreeze for a full-time sponsorship deal, and wins his first pole position that year at Richmond. Not just that, but he qualifies first 2 more times. He finishes the season off with 9 top 10s, but a slew of 11 DNFs put a damper on his year. 1988 goes almost identically. 9 top 10s, 12 DNFs, except in the second to last race of the year, NASCAR's first race ever at Phoenix Raceway, Alan wins his first race. In the hot desert sun, the leader, Ricky Rudd, blows a motor and Alan swoops in from second to win the race after going on to lead 41 laps. To celebrate, he does something no one else has ever done before, the now classic Polish victory lap. He pulls around and does a lap around the track in reverse so that he can wave to the fans from the driver's side of the car. In 1989, Alan Kulwicki starts up his own engine program, but by year's end, he's had 9 DNFs due to engine failures. Despite this, he gets 6 poles, 9 top 10s, and finishes out 15th in points, and even held the points lead for 1 week. In 1990, Junior Johnson taps Alan to drive his flagship car, the famed red number 11. At this time, Junior Johnson is the most respected car owner in NASCAR, and being asked to drive for him is like Rick Hendrick or Roger Penske asking you to drive the number 24 or the number 2 today. It's a huge opportunity, the big break he needs to win a championship, the greatest prize of all, and Alan says no. He wants
What?
to drive for himself and no one else.
Me the whole video, I'm like,
His way.
what?
Allen goes out and has his best season yet in 1990, winning his second race, 13 top 10s, and 8 from the points. Junior Johnson comes knocking again, this time offering up an at that time unheard of contract in the 7-figure range. Allen, who thought he had just lined up a new sponsor, says no again, only to find out that that sponsor had jumped ship to Junior Johnson's second team. Going into the 1991 season, Alan Kulwicki has no sponsor and runs the entire operation out of pocket. Lucky for him, to support the Gulf War effort, the U.S. Army sponsors Allen in the Daytona 500 for a one-race deal, which gave us this awesome paint job. The next 3 races, Allen runs a plain white scheme, still in search of a sponsor. In the 4th race of the year, he gets lucky. The restaurant chain Hooters sponsors a car that doesn't make the race. The race is in Atlanta, the home city that they're based out of, and they want somebody to fly their colors. Allen obliges on another one-race deal. He finishes 8th that day, and he and Hooters work out a full-time deal for the rest of the year, which results in their now iconic white and orange scheme. Allen wins his 3rd race ever at Bristol Motor Speedway that year, and Hooters extends their sponsorship through 1992. And Allen gets it in his head that this is the year he can make a run at the championship. He has only 3 wins to his credit, but now he has some sponsorship dollars rolling in. His engine program has all the kinks worked out. He has way fewer DNFs than in previous years, and he has a team put together that believe in him and his mission. But while Allen is gearing up for the 1992 season, Junior Johnson has tapped someone else to drive for his flagship team. He's picked up NASCAR's most popular driver, a veteran of over a decade of NASCAR competition, a former champion. Junior Johnson has won over arguably NASCAR's best driver, Bill Elliott. Now we have near a perfect union between the best driver in the garage with arguably NASCAR's best team. If there was ever a dream team put together in NASCAR, this was it.
I was going to say I've heard the name, but I can't put name to face, which is why I was sat there like, who is that? Well. Damn. 6 championships as an owner, that's incredible. Two-time Daytona 500 winner, wow. Well, this is just set up for Allen to fail then, right? While under green.
Allen has his work cut out for him, but there's another hot shot he needs to worry about as well. Davey Allison is the son of NASCAR royalty Bobby Allison, the 1983 champ, the 3-time Daytona 500 winner, and holder of over 80 victories in the sport. Davey has already made a name for himself too. He's only been competing full-time for a few years, and already he has racked up over a dozen wins. He is NASCAR's heir apparent. He will hold the torch for the sport going through the 90s. And in the first race of the 1992 season, the Daytona 500, he follows in his father's footsteps and wins. Allen finishes 4th.
He
Not
won.
bad. The second race spells disaster, though. A mid-race problem causes them to go many laps down. He finishes out 31st. At Richmond, he bounces back and finishes 2nd. He's right back in it. Atlanta marks 1 year since he got his new sponsorship deal, and he finishes 7th. Again, so far, so good. Keep in mind that most champions score the cup with an average finish between 9 and 11. Allen is on track to hit that, but a late race engine failure at Darlington the next week.
Important facts for people like me
finish,
there.
which isn't that bad considering that there were 39 cars on the track that day. So it's no biggie. It's a 29 race season, so we still have plenty of time to work. So which has competition been up to in these first 5 races? Davey Allison won the first race, finished 2nd, and then had 3 straight 4th place finishes. He's the point leader by a pretty big margin at this point. But how about that dream team between Bill Elliott and Junior Johnson? How are they doing? Oh, they won the other 4 races in a row. The only thing stopping them from being ahead in the points was their disastrous Daytona 500 where they finished 27th. Going into the 6th race of the season, Allen has to make something happen. He has to have a big surge, and he needs to do it relatively soon. He has an underfunded team, he's not a flashy driver, he's not exactly going out there and dominating races flag to flag, but he does have 2 big aces up his sleeve. The first is he is a master strategist and tactician. He's also patient, and as a great man once said, a warrior's greatest weapon is his patience.
Yeah.
Allen is content to just ride around the track all day in the top 10 so long as he is ahead of the points leaders. No need to risk one of his precious few cars trying to pass someone who is behind him in the points. He is one of the most consistent drivers in the garage. Only equipment failures have bruised his overall finish this year. That's not to say that he doesn't want to win, but he just always had his eye on the big picture. He had no problem with waiting, ceaselessly biding his time for the right moment to strike, and in week 6 of competition, it happens. Davey Allison wrecks out and finishes 28th. Bill Elliott has a problem too and goes 30 laps down, finishing 20th. And Allen, he wins. He claws his way back up to 5th in points and will never again fall out of the top 5 in points all year.
That's incredible.
This brings me to the second ace he has up his sleeve. He is one of the most skilled stock car drivers in America. But how? How has this northern invader mastered this traditionally southern sport with such precision? How has he conquered the high banks of Bristol Motor Speedway, the world's fastest half mile? There's nothing else quite like it in the world, except that there is something half like it. In Wisconsin lies Slinger Superspeedway, a high-banked quarter-mile track you drive much like Bristol, hard on the gas early, very light on the brakes, and constantly running at breakneck speed. If Bristol is the world's fastest half-mile speedway, then Slinger is the world's fastest quarter-mile speedway. And Allen, he's the 1977 track champion at Slinger. He knows about as good as anybody how to navigate a NASCAR
Case closed.
ring and win. Before his death in April 1993, Allen only ever won 5 races in his entire career, and only won multiple races at one track, Bristol. Why? Because he got a lot of practice in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Through the spring season and all throughout the summer stretch, Allen never suffers another DNF. He is always running at the end of the race. What few races he does run poorly at aren't as bad as they could have been, especially compared to his competition. Davey Allison has been involved in several terrible accidents this year and has about as many injuries to match. Despite all that, he hasn't left the top 2 in points up to this point. His problem is that for every top 5 he gets a DNF or a sub-25th place finish to match. Bill Elliott, however, is doing great. All through the spring and summer stretch, he never finishes outside the top 14. But he never wins a race during this period either. He now has a sizable lead over Davey and Allen and is poised to win his 2nd championship. But in the September Martinsville race, that all changes. Bill finishes 30th, and his October run isn't any better. He has one good run at Rockingham and finishes 4th, but in the second to last race, his engine overheats under the brutal sun of Phoenix Raceway. Davey Allison wins, notching his 5th win of the season and getting the points lead back that he lost over the summer. Allen finishes 5th, moves into 2nd in points, just 30 points behind the leader. Behind him sits Bill Elliott, now 3rd, 10 points behind Allen.
Oh, wow.
The
It's
final
very
race of the year
close.
is at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and there's a lot going on that day in November. It's Richard Petty's last race, Jeff Gordon's first race. 3 guys have a realistic shot at the championship.
Oh my God,
3
look
other
how
guys
busy that crowd
mathematically
is.
still in it. Alan Kulwicki and his team have altered the front logo of the nose of their car with Ford Motor Company's blessing, of course, so that their number 7 Thunderbird is now the Underbird. It's basically a madhouse down there in Atlanta that day, and on lap 2, it all goes south.
Oh no! Who's that? Oh my God, he collected another car there. I was just waiting for that to happen.
Penny got through. I think I saw Alan Kulwicki on the bottom of the racetrack getting through.
Somehow all 6 championship contenders make it through. Davey Allison has the rear end of his car scuffed up pretty bad, and the handling is affected because of it. After the accident, we go back to green, and Dale Earnhardt leaps out to the lead. Bill Elliott is cutting his way through the field along with Alan Kulwicki, but they got a ways to go. Later, after a long green flag stint, another caution comes out for a quick spin. Most everyone has pitted already, but Bill and Alan stay out as long as possible, hoping to lead a lap and get those 5 bonus points. Bill gets the points, and Alan doesn't. He'll just have to try again next stint. He pits right behind Davey Allison while under caution. The stop goes smoothly, but when Alan takes off, he hears the worst thing any driver can possibly hear when starting from a dead stop. He puts the car in first gear, lets out the clutch, mashes the gas, and just hears a clunk. His car doesn't move at all. He doesn't panic. He just puts it in 4th, yells at his team over the radio to push him out of the pit, and eventually the gear catches and Alan takes off. Alan has just lost first gear. It's happened before a few weeks back at the Fall Charlotte race, and he knows what to do to deal with it. Run all day in 4th gear. If he tries to shift between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, broken pieces from the 1st gear could work their way into the transmission and break other gears.
The fact that he knows that as well, that's incredible.
Gear is fine for racing at full speed. You never come out of 4th anyway. But if there are a lot of restarts and pit stops today, Alan is going to be in deep trouble. Alan has to be pushed out of the pits by his crew every single stop. Their pit stop times this race are garbage. Thankfully, once up to speed, he has a wicked fast car. With Davey Allison, the points leader, falling back and Bill Elliott working his way forward, Alan Kulwicki realizes he has to do something he's never really done before. He has to go out and dominate this race. Back then, you got 5 bonus points for leading 1 lap, and another 5
He's got to
if
put the
you
car
led
at risk.
laps that day.
Get at the
if
front.
you dominated a race, led the most laps, but the second place guy led none, you could get 15 more points than the guy who finished second. Conversely,
Wow, okay,
if you
I
led the
didn't know
most
that.
laps, finished second, the winner would break even with you on points gained that race. Alan, only 10 points ahead of Bill, decides to go all out. He and Bill work their way up to the front. If Davey Allison gets his car squared away, he has to finish 5th or better to clinch the championship. He's running just inside the top 10. Bill and Alan pounce on the opportunity and work their way through the field to take 1st and 2nd spot. What ensues is one of the craziest stretches of any race ever. They start swapping
they're
the
still
lead
going
back
side
and
by
forth,
side.
both of them knowing that 5 points gained from leading the most laps could decide the championship. They race each other hard too. They're running flat out as fast as they can, and their cars are
look
so
at them
close
go.
together you probably couldn't slip a piece of paper between them. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, and Benny Parsons up in the booth call out contact between the two so often they just give up. They just stare on with the viewers at home watching these two guys slug
insane.
out. Long green flag stints help Allen's transmission problem. While there are 5 more cautions that day, they come at opportunely timed moments at the tail end of long green flag runs. The damage is kept to a minimum, so he's still in this. About midway through the race, Davey Allison crashes out, and now it's just a duel between Allen and Bill.
Oh, no.
If Bill leads the most laps today and wins, he still has to have Allen finish 3rd or worse. That would lead to a tie, and the winner of more races would prove to be the tiebreaker. Bill has won 4 races, and Allen just 2. Allen is in control of his own destiny, though. He just has to lead 1 more lap than Bill and finish 3rd or better. The two keep battling up front all day. There are 20 lead changes that day, and Bill and Allen won't let the other out of their sight. Finally, in the last leg of the race, Allen does it. He mathematically clinches the most laps led with 103. Bill Elliott will go on to lead 102. The war isn't over, though. Allen still has to finish in the top 3. The final leg of the race is a long one, and nobody has enough fuel to make it to the end. Bill and Allen stop for quick splash-and-go pit stops. No tires, just fuel. Allen shows his hand and comes in first to get 3.5 seconds worth of fuel. Gasman Tony Gibson awkwardly hooks up to the car, and the team doesn't know if they got enough in. The official time of the pit stop, 3.4 seconds. They weigh the can and they determine that they might come up a bit short. They tell Allen to conserve fuel but not let the number 11 of Bill Elliott slip away.
Is this
Bill
how it's going to end?
a bit later and also
because of
takes
fuel?
in 3.4 seconds worth of fuel. Bill rolls out of pit road, gets up to speed, and he still has the lead of the race. Allen runs a delicate dance for dozens of laps, conserving fuel but maintaining 2nd place. And then the final lap winds down, and he finishes the race in 2nd. Bill Elliott wins his 5th race of the season, but comes up just 10 points short of Allen in the championship. And that's it. He's done it. Allen has become the first
Oh my god, no way! I didn't actually think he was going to do it. Damn.
Cup championship. With this, he is one of the unlikeliest drivers to ever win a championship since
unbelievable.
Benny Parsons won the Cup back in 1973, with only 1 race win. Allen has just 5 race wins in his entire career at this point, 6 full-time seasons under his belt, a crew roster full of misfits who couldn't make it with other teams, and now a championship and $1 million check. He didn't win the most races that year. He didn't even lead the most laps. He didn't have the most top 5s or top 10s, or even make the most money that season either. But what he did do was never give up and play his hands like any ace poker player. He knew when to hold and when to fold, and when it came to crunch time, no one had quicker wits or a cooler head than Alan Kulwicki. Alan Kulwicki would die in an airplane accident outside of Bristol Motor Speedway, his best track, on April 1st, 1993. His fellow championship competitor, Davey Allison, would die in a helicopter accident at Talladega just a few months later. The two of them gave us one of the best championship battles we have ever seen.
Everywhere.
With Allen overcoming the odds, Davey overcoming terrible injuries, they were 2 of the best drivers we ever had out there on the track, and we're all a little worse off without them. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Well, that was incredible. I didn't know any of that. I didn't even know who that driver was going into this video. Hadn't even heard of him. But now knowing all of that, that is incredible. The fact that he put together his own team, knew his way around the car as well, and managed to take it to win a championship. proves that you can do anything that you put your mind to. I can't believe that. I'm like stunned into silence. I understand why you guys wanted me to watch that video now. So thank you to everybody who requested this video. And with that being said, if you have any other videos that you'd like me to react to, drop them in the comments. I'm working my way through everybody's suggestions at the moment. If you did want to check out any of my other socials or become a Patreon member and get early access to videos like this or top priority over your suggestions, then you can do all of that down below. But I hope you enjoyed today's reaction, and I will catch you next time for the next one. Bye.